Hi, and welcome to another episode of SMECO Connects. I'm Sonja Cox, your host, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Tom Dennison.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here again, and what another great day, another great podcast. It's a real pleasure being the co-host for this because we've been doing a number of these now, and we're getting a lot of good topics and a lot of good conversations.
Yeah, and we're getting better at it.
We are pros.
You've
almost.
Always been good at it.
I wouldn't say that. You're very good at it too.
Yeah, I got a compliment the other day from Dan over here behind the camera when he recorded the annual meeting video.
Excellent.
And he said, you're a lot more comfortable in front of the camera since you started doing the podcast.
No, it's because of guys like Dan and Nick and Teresa. I mean, they make us look good.
Yeah, we have these three people behind the scenes. So they're really the brains behind it. We
Amen.
just sit here and get to talk to each other.
I like it.
So today we're going to talk about one of the topics that came up was leadership and corporate culture in a not-for-profit utility. Mm-hmm. So like SMECO. So I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about what we see as the differences between the nonprofit utility versus the investor-owned utility.
Yeah, I think that's a great topic, and I think it's something that is always important for us to try to explain to people in our service territory that they're a member of a cooperative versus a customer of an investor-owned utility. And it's not like one is better than the other. I think it's just a main difference of how we operate versus the operations of an investor-owned utility. And one of the fundamental things that I always point out is that as an electric cooperative, we're not for profit. And we have a 15-member board of directors who are elected.
Right.
And
they're elected by the membership.
They are elected by the membership. And so there's a democratic component of our business that is different than an investor-owned utility that is owned by shareholders, and the investments made by the investor-owned utility, of course, are part of their business to benefit shareholders. Mm-hmm. Our mission is to provide the reliable, sustainable electricity at the lowest possible price because, we don't have any other motivation.
Right.
We are motivated by keeping the lights on and keeping electricity costs down as far as possible to benefit our membership.
Right.
And I think, as part of the not-for-profit cooperative world, our board of directors are accountable to our members.
Right.
Because they have an election every 3 years. We have 15 members, 5 of whom are up for election each time. Mm-hmm. And it's a rotating 3-year cycle. So we're kind of in the midst of that right now.
Right.
We have our annual meeting coming up next week. Mm-hmm. And that's another big component of how we're different than an investor-owned utility. And there's nothing wrong with investor-owned utilities or, say, a municipal utility.
Right.
We have municipal utilities in Maryland. The one I think about a lot is Easton. Mm-hmm. Very good friend of mine is the president over there, John Horner. He came from BG&E back in the day, and he went to Easton. And they're owned by the town of Easton.
Oh,
they provide
electricity.
They provide water and telecom.
Oh, wow.
It's all kind of under that municipal umbrella. So
that would be a fun business to run.
It's very different than I think what you and I do,
right.
But it's just a different model, and obviously they have to interact with. They're accountable to the Easton City Council, mm-hmm. to the mayor, where we're accountable to board of directors, to our members. Mm-hmm. The folks at investor-owned utilities are obviously very tied in with shareholders,
right?
And and they're publicly traded companies, and they're part of larger organizations, say like BG&E and Pepco, are part of the Exelon,
right?
Which is
huge.
I mean, they have utilities all the way to Chicago, to New Jersey, to of course in Maryland and Delaware. So
well, that's what I like to say. The one thing about the cooperative is Like the decisions that are made here at the cooperative are made here in the community.
Right.
We don't have a headquarters in Chicago or New York or Baltimore, where we have to run everything through them. Our decisions are made here locally. And as part of that, like the board and staff have different responsibilities. Like we're responsible for operating the organization, and the buck stops with me. So as the CEO, but the board is responsible for making policy, and then we have to, and for strategic planning, and we do that as a team. But the board comes up with strategic initiatives and things that they want us to work on. So we have to take that strategic plan then and execute on it. Right? We have a 5-year strategic plan that we're always working toward. Some of the things on there to try to make the company even better than it already is.
Yeah, and I think the way I would describe it is they're kind of like steering the ship, whereas you are making sure that every part of the ship is moving forward and that we're all working together to accomplish our mission. And I think you have a very unique role as CEO in that. Your job, you're hired by the board.
Right.
You're accountable to the board. We have a monthly meeting we have a monthly meeting where you provide updates to them on everything from financials to what's happening in the industry to HR matters to various things. So,
right.
Sonja, you weren't always at a co-op. So how has that transition been from, I know you worked at a power plant before.
I did, yes.
So then you came into the co-op world. So kind of how do you see that leadership different in your career?
Well, everybody talks about corporate culture, but I think the culture here in the co-op is so much different than it was when I worked at the power plant. I mean, I enjoyed working there, but it was still owned. It was still an investor-owned utility. There were still, you had to answer to the people at that time who were in Raleigh, and we're down in Hartsville, South Carolina. So,
Sure.
And it was a little different too because it was a nuclear power plant, which there's lots of rules and regulations that go along with that, and we have plenty as well.
Mm-hmm. But then you come here to SMECO, and you were in accounting,
yes,
your first job,
yes,
right? So then what was the thing you first noticed in terms of a difference between where you came from and where you arrived?
That's funny. The employees.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like one big happy family here. It felt like, right? When I came in the door as a management employee, right? And we have hourly or union employees, and I had 4 of them reporting to me. So here are 4 people who's worked here a lot longer than I have, and,
Sure.
and they know their job. And I was like, I was so nervous because I'm like, I hope there's no hard feelings that I came in, and of course there weren't.
Right.
They were happy to tell me what they did and how they did it, and I sat with each one of them to learn their jobs, and they were so willing to share information. And that's one thing I like about here as well. Like the employees are all willing to help each other. You see that all the time, in different areas of the organization. What about you? I mean, what did you see when you came here?
Yeah, I mean, this was my first non-newspaper job working here at the co-op. And so I tell you, most of the things that I noticed the difference is when I interact with our my colleagues in Annapolis who are working for other utilities. So I think there's different motivations that go on. Like with us, a lot of things that we push for or push against in terms of legislative matters,
right.
A lot of it boils down to cost for
right.
us. We want to try to keep costs as affordable. We'd love to be able to do some things that that are being mandated. However, because of the way we operate, it just doesn't make financial sense.
Right.
So we have to kind of explain that, and the difference to legislators. They have to understand the difference between a co-op and an investor-owned utility, where an investor-owned utility, if they make investments in certain programs and things, they can earn a return on that investment.
Right.
Again, not a good thing, not a bad thing. It's just reality. So I think part of the challenge that I always had was, and I continue to have, is just explaining how things affect SMECO versus how some things may affect other larger utilities.
Well, and I think that you've made some really good relationships with the Southern Maryland delegation, and you've really told our story and in a way where they understand that there are differences between us and what we need or don't need versus the other utilities.
Well, I think the folks in Southern Maryland are they're invested. I mean, they want to make sure that SMECO is healthy. They want to make sure that SMECO is providing good service.
Right.
They want to make sure that SMECO is led by competent people, and that was something I learned very, very quickly. Was you're coming in whenever I was hired here, you're coming into an organization that has a good reputation,
Right.
And a reputation, as you know, is very fragile. It can change with a storm. It can change with, bad leadership. It can change with, escalating prices that people don't understand why, and people are, they can lose faith,
Right.
and then that is what really grabs the attention of elected officials. They don't want. They've got enough issues on their plate. They don't want to have to worry about SMECO. Mm-hmm. And I think my biggest message to them was, if you guys have problems, if you guys have constituent issues, if somebody's having poor reliability, if somebody has trouble paying their bill, if one of our trucks drove into somebody's yard and they're concerned and they call you, that's why I'm here. Yeah. Call me, and we'll try to make it right. And I think that's sort of part of the job that is important. Yeah. That they know that they can make a call, which is good.
Yeah, that again goes back to corporate culture. But it's funny that you mentioned that. I was driving to a meeting last week, and I get a call from one of the board members who had gotten a call from his neighbor, and he had an issue with something and needed it taken care of. And it was like 10:05 on a Thursday evening or Wednesday evening. And I'm thinking to myself, of course we got it taken care of. But I'm thinking to myself, do you think that a board member for like Exelon or BG or Pepco gets those kind of calls and then calls the CEO? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
That's just, that's one of the big differences as far as community goes.
I think so. And I think that's when you talk to like local county, like county commissioners or like the mayor of the town of La Plata, for instance, right. They are accessible and people call them. They run into them at the grocery right. store. They run into them at the Little League field or at church on Sunday. And yeah, so you're always kind of on. And that was the other thing that I've learned from this job is as long as I have that phone, we're on.
Right.
Whether we're, we may be at my daughter's softball game, I may be at my other daughter's swim meet or whatever, but I think it comes with the territory, and it's a responsibility that we carry that I think is an important one.
I do too.
And we have to be able to. I'm not going to know everything about. I make the joke about. I work at SMECO. Just don't ask me about electricity. And obviously, we're not climbing poles. We're not fixing storm damage, but we have people here who can help us. Mm-hmm. And I think that is what is essential from a culture standpoint, that executives like you and me, that I can make a call over to engineering and understand what's going on with a certain project. Right. Or we can talk to members of our environmental property rights folks and like so-and-so has we got to get a right away from somebody, and it's been very difficult. Well, right. What's the issue? Is it, why is it an issue? So I think there's that that responsibility and that culture that comes from being able to make relationships from our level to the next level down to, all the way to to folks who are just, here on, like you said, who are bargaining unit, union members who may be getting paid by the hour.
Right.
That being said, we can still talk to them and
yeah.
understand what they're dealing with and how we can all work together.
Well, and that's one of the big things that I wanted to make sure happened when I took over. I felt like there was a rift between the hourly employees and the management employees, and really wanted to fix that. And I think, we've made a lot of strides in that area, and I think they would agree. And one of the big things about the co-op is the employees, and all of the employees know that we're here to serve the members.
Right.
And the guys want everybody wants to have reliable power, and we want to be able to provide that. We like our reputation and want to keep it. And I think that's kind of at the forefront of 95% of our employees, if not more.
No, and I think it's important, right? I mean, if we're not all, pulling on the same rope, we're not going to be successful.
Right.
And there's a certain level of trust that has to be established. And I think one of the things that you have done in your time here is establish trust with all levels of the organization. So, I mean, I'm fortunate. My office is right beside yours, and I can tell you that there are people at all levels of the company who come into your office, and you're accessible, and I think that means something to people, and I think you have to set that tone, and if you set the tone, then it'll flow down, and that's the important thing.
Well, I think we all pretty much have this kind of open door policy, but I've always said that I have an open door policy because nobody wants to work for somebody who comes in the office and as soon as they get there, they close their door and they're behind the closed doors all day.
Right.
They're not accessible. And that's one big thing that I want, especially for the managers and supervisors and directors here is to be accessible to the employees. We can't run this company without the employees.
No.
And I was at, everybody hears this, but I was at a seminar last week, and it was like most people who leave their job, they don't leave their job because they're unhappy with the job. They leave because they're unhappy with their leadership.
Wow.
So
it's a big reminder of kind of why we all get up in the morning and do what we do. It's what we have to do.
Yeah, and our employees, we were talking about this before we started recording. We have employees come in. We want them to be successful, and we have a lot of support that we provide as far as training goes. If a new employee comes in, we have a mentorship program. So I think the mentorship program is valuable because you have to be here a certain time before you can become a member, because if you're a new employee, then you're learning the culture of the business, right? And if you want to be a mentor, you need to learn that culture. And then when another employee comes on, you can convey to them, this what our company culture is, so that they can better maneuver it or fit in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing that you've always strived to do is give employees tools to, if they want to get an extra degree, if they want to get certain certification, so that they might be able to move up the ladder. That's always been important to you.
I think the more you support your employees, the happier they are, and you invest a lot of money in a new employee, and you want them to be successful, because if they're successful, then you're successful as an organization. So, yeah, that is a big deal. I think we provide training, we provide tuition reimbursement. We have a wellness program because, and the wellness is not just physical health. It's mental health. It's financial education. All those different things. I like to say, it's like the whole picture, the whole of the employee.
Yeah, 360. The 360 view.
Yeah,
it's important. So you've been president and CEO for 5 years. And kind of going forward, where do you see like the culture continuing to go here at SMECO, in maybe your next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah.
Not to put you on a timeline or anything, but
I'll put my own cell phone one if I can get there. I think we have to continue to focus on our mission. Our core mission is to provide reliable, sustainable, affordable power to the best of our ability. Some things are certainly outside of our control, but we do try to keep costs down and try to keep our rates down as much as we can. So we'll continue that focus. We'll continue. I think a lot of employees I've heard that they wanted to come to work here because we are out in the community. We are concerned for making our community a better place for the people to live, for our citizens, for our members. So that'll continue to be a focus. And then just the way the industry itself is changing. And, we were talking earlier that the same seminar, I keep talking about the seminar, but it was the best thing I've been to.
Sure.
And we were talking about that earlier today.
The technology aspect of it.
Yeah, we're not an electric company anymore. We're a technology company. So are all utilities. But, we got AI coming. How is that going to change the culture? I'm sure it will.
Absolutely.
You got to reskill people, but maybe they need different skills. So we have to determine what those skills are. But AI, grid modernization, where things become more automated, we can restore power more quickly. And then just the changing technology. We're doing this new communications backbone, so we'll be ready for the next 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the challenge, right? I mean, we've got to be able to balance the technological improvements that come along with data,
Right.
AI, as well as valuing the bodies who are already here,
Right.
and who have the expertise and have the experience to make sure that we run this thing appropriately.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said everybody has something to offer. You just have to talk to them about what it is. What is it you want? What is it you're good at? What would you like to do? And I'm all about I want people to be happy when they're at work, because if they're not, they're going to,
It's going to show.
Yeah. So, yeah. But I think our teams feel that way about their employees.
Yeah, I think so, and I think as long as the effort stays with the leadership on down, I think that's our job,
Right.
to continue to be advocates for them and give them the tools necessary to grow and advance in their careers. So
Yeah.
it's fun to be a part of the ride.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Well, thank you. This was fun.
It was fun. It's always fun.
Good.